the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Add 3 more key defensive recruits today. Of the 3, though, who's the most interesting to you that's in the boat for the Vols?
I think Dereon Albert is really enticing to me, adding another talent on the defensive line, someone who could be developed into a guy that could play in multiple positions. If he, beefs up a little bit more, he could be on the interior. I could see that out of him, but he also has the speed to potentially play defensive end and be a weapon in both run stopping and in rushing the quarterback. I think there's versatility there. And although he's a 4-star and everybody's like, oh, give me more 5 stars, give me more high touted prospects, I think this kid has a ton of potential just based on watching a little bit of film earlier today. And I think the relationship he has, obviously with his teammate, obviously being a part of a big day for Tennessee, I like the prospects that, buy into the idea of team into Vol Nation. Obviously, they're getting paid. There's no doubt about that. But when guys commit on the same day like this, they were talking to each other. They were thinking about, okay, let's make a splash not only for ourselves, but for our team. Let's look like a more desirable destination, which is Tennessee, which is Rocky Top. Hey, everybody else that's undecided, come join in on the fun, because all 3 of us decided today that this is the spot for us. I like that idea. I like that Dereon Albert was in on that today, and he's, an exciting prospect in my eyes when it comes to arriving on campus in, a year and a half or so.
Yeah, and I mean, it's suddenly a loaded inside room. Like, I think one of the things that Tennessee's lost, they lost a lot of veteran leadership on the inside with Omari Thomas, Omar Norman-Lott, and Elijah Simmons. So you're going to need Jackson Moy and Bryson Easton to finish strong there. But then they're gone likely after this year. And then it's just all your new guys. Like, it's just a lot of young guys like Ethan Utley and Isaiah Campbell and David Hobbs, another big guy who needs to make that leap, but he's a former blue chip that I think people are going to really see come on a high level this year. I think he's probably going to be the 3rd guy for Tennessee and Rodney Garner in that room. But like you said, I like Albert a lot too, because this Cooper Pedagna, friend of the podcast, who's the national recruiting analyst at 247 Sports, I like his last thing he said about him. Projects as a high level impact starter at the power 4 level that possesses the size, physical tools, and technical refinement to add immediate dividends to his program on Saturdays. Like, I think he's going to be a good player. You look at it, he has 14.5 sacks in his last 2 years, his junior and senior year at Mississippi. There's some Omar Norman-Lott stuff to him. Like, I think he's going to be a disruptor like that. Like, I think he has that kind of, because what you forget is, like, Omar Norman-Lott was fantastic for Tennessee when he was on the field, and he was important on 3rd down pass rushing opportunities. And he was a 2nd round pick for a reason, and he was a really, really great player for Rodney Garner. But what they have, like, Bryson Easton was not a defensive lineman, interior guy when he arrived at Tennessee. Like, he's gradually evolved into that. He's become a really good player. And then you have Amari Thomas, who could have been a tackle. Like, I think that there will always be that what if like Amari should have been an offensive tackle or gone in the inside and the interior as defensive tackle, but not a natural there. Now they're stacking dudes who are just like natural, like Omar Norman-Lott. So you're developing at the high school level. You get an Albert, you get a Nutley, you get a Campbell, you get these guys, and you're like, all right, this is starting to look. You look at the bodies in that room over the next 2 years, and you're like, this is a high caliber SEC, like, interior offensive linemen at other schools are like, oh, who is this? Who's the 6th guy off the bench here in 2 years? Is that Albert? Oh,
you have natural athletes that you're getting in the building that are built to rush the passer, that are built to be disruptors. And I think with Rodney Gardner doing, being able to develop the way he can develop, being able to get these guys to play team defense on the defensive line, being able to shuffle that defensive line, because we saw that work several years in a row now, and it's just continued to get better. And that's why, like you said, you listed off, 5 potential guys that are all built to play the position, that are all built to get out after the quarterback. And obviously Albert's sack numbers speak for themselves. And that blurb you said just absolutely sung his praises. But I think it's just a huge day for Tennessee, and he just adds to that depth, because you make a good point. After this current group, graduates, leaves, all of the different ways that they will depart, it's going to be a fresh crop, fresh group of new guys, and they're going to have to step up. And it's going to be interesting to see who steps up, who shows out. Well, it's a good thing to know that the guys that are going to enter the room are guys that have the physical tools to emerge as disruptors. It's just, okay, how can you fit the system? How can you come in and really be an impact player for Garner and his defensive line?
Another great day on the recruiting front for Tennessee.
No doubt.
And the defensive side. I was talking about this on the radio show, The Chase over there on Fox Sports Knoxville, 1 to 3 Monday through Friday, Griffin. But it's interesting because the offensive side of the ball, like, they're just going big game hunting, and it's an ultimate boomer bust type of year, because if you don't land Hyder and you don't land Keys, like, there's not a lot. Like, they're putting all their eggs in those 2 5-stars baskets, and we'll see. Maybe Salisi Moa, I think he's scheduled to commit the 5th. Maybe you get him in the boat, top 100 4-star receiver, bigger dude, speedster on the outside, and maybe that's you're okay if you don't get Keys at that point. But man, this is like, you're putting a lot of eggs in the Hyder. There's no running back committed to this group. Like, they don't have one in the boat right now, and a lot of guys have come off the board. And maybe you circle back somewhere, kind of like DeJuan Morris this past year, where you were able to flip DeJuan from USC really late in the process out of Oakland.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's not an obvious, like, they are going big game hunting on the offensive side, and defense, they're just stacking blue chip. Like, they're just stacking depth. Like, everywhere you look, just depth everywhere,
which I love.
Yeah.
There's no doubt that stacking defensive talent is a great sign for this team, because for years defense was an issue, and it's great that an offensive head coach is stacking defensive talent on the recruiting front. Now, does it make me nervous? Absolutely. Putting all your eggs in 5-star blue chip skill player baskets, if you will, because you're in a bidding war at that point. And we've known this, but you're in a bidding war. It makes me even more nervous when you're going after the wide receiver like that. I think Tristan Keys is a guy that I'm okay with going after like that, because dude's unbelievable. Like, there is no doubt that a wide receiver can make an impact on day one, because I think you've seen more true freshman wide receivers show out in the last several years of college football in this NIL era than you necessarily have running backs. I think sometimes running backs grow into it. And so I'm more nervous about, we need to go get, if I'm Heupel and I'm staff, we're looking internally, you're going, okay, we need to go get this wide receiver. We need to pour more into the wide receiver, because they can be an automatic contributor. Whereas I think with running backs, you might find a couple more diamonds in the rough. It doesn't necessarily make me as nervous, because you have a Deshaun Bishop out of Carnes who just came on and had a good year and had a good backup role, and he could emerge into a nice little player for the backfield. Or you have Morris out of Oakland, who are you able to flip, in-state guy that is explosive and was elite in the Tennessee high school football state playoffs last year, where he was, slicing and dicing, and Oakland was just a force to be reckoned with because of his athletic ability. So am I nervous? Absolutely, because this is this era of recruiting in football, but it makes me, look even more into the wide receiver position, just because of how crucial it can be from the jump. Like, you just automatically think about Jeremiah Smith or Ryan Williams, the 2 guys that Tennessee played last year, the guys at Alabama and Ohio State that torched Tennessee, true freshmen. Whereas at the running back spot, like I said, you can kind of find a diamond in the rough. And I think Tennessee will be able to figure it out in the running back room.
Yeah. It's going to be fascinating. I mean, 3 Mississippi kids in one cycle. I don't know when the last time Tennessee's done that, but it's been a long time. Like, I don't know if you, like, off the top of your head, would you be able to tell before today who the last Tennessee Mississippi high school commit was?
No.
You figured this out on the drive.
Not at all.
John Slaughter was the last one.
Really? Okay. Yeah. John
it's
Slaughter. Okay.
It just doesn't happen very often.
No,
like, it's a hard pull.
I think East. Like, I think how you went and got James Pierce from North Carolina, or you go across and you go, you search the whole state of North Carolina, or even you go after some Georgia kids. And obviously you're getting kids from these prep schools that are from all over the place, like a Baylor. But wow, that's interesting. Yeah. Cause I can't remember. To pull. I can't remember. And is Keys right? Hattiesburg. He's from Mississippi as well.
Mississippi, yeah.
So, I mean, another Mississippi guy, maybe his little, the little contingent of Mississippi boys can help on that front. You never know.
Yeah, it's a risk though. Putting all your eggs in a Mississippi kid is that it's kind of like Florida for Tennessee over the years, where it's just I've always said Florida's a waste of time for Tennessee by and large. Like unless it's a super interesting connection, like a legacy connection, something like that, stay away from Florida.
Oh,
Like
it's
it's
so
just
hard.
yeah, like the last time they went down that rabbit hole was Kai Bates, who ended up at Florida State, the cornerback from a couple cycles ago, and it's just for whatever reason, it's just hard to pull kids from Florida. And
It's so
I don't know. I
difficult.
imagine it's a big change. Like Rocky Top. It's a little bit. It's easier for North Carolina kids, Virginia kids, Georgia kids to be like, yeah, that's fine. Like Alabama kids, even like, yeah, this is about. Florida is jarring. Like I think for a lot of kids, it's just very different.
It's a different world. It in its own right. It's kind of a different region. I mean, you kind of consider the deep South of the South being one region, like, you know, Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, and Tennessee being Appalachia right there, Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina. Florida's kind of in its own world with its own big schools, with, you know, multiple conferences and so many different, not only great high schools, but different academies as well, down south with IMG and different things. And so it's so difficult. It is beyond difficult because those kids are not only just going to those Florida schools, they're also looking all over the country, not just at the fellow SEC schools. It's kind of like, you know, California, where those California kids go all over the country. Those, you know, Florida kids don't go to Florida schools. You got to watch out because they might just not want to jump up to Tennessee or Georgia. They might want to go to a school in California or in Texas or Ohio State or whatever it may be.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.